Though it is generally considered an extreme taboo, cannibalism has happened in many different contexts, including criminal acts, cultural practices, and survival circumstances. Though rare, many notorious cannibalistic murder cases have drawn public attention, and moral and legal debates have resulted. Today, we are going to talk about the unsettling story that horrified the peaceful community of Burjai Holy Spirit, Quezon City. This is the story of a woman named Heidi Estrera, 46 years old, whose life was taken in a horrible act of violence by her husband, Orlando Estrada, 43 years old, in their own home. The narrative of Heidi Estrera and Orlando Estrera includes explicit depictions of violent acts and crime scenes, which may be unsettling for certain viewers. Heidi and Orlando met for the first time in 2002 at the same private Catholic school, where they both held different positions. Heidi was hired as the head of maintenance, in charge of ensuring that the facilities were kept in good working order. Her tasks necessitated a high level of organization and leadership, which she displayed with diligence and care. Orlando, on the other hand, worked as a construction worker in the same school, which required both physical and technical talents. Despite their differing positions, they interacted frequently and professionally. Heidi's generosity and willingness to go above and beyond her responsibilities were clear to those around her. Her acts of support and genuine concern for others were not overlooked. These attributes caught Orlando's attention and led to the formation of a personal bond between them. Their mutual respect and deepening fondness helped to change their professional connection into a romantic one. By the end of the year, their relationship had progressed to the point that they got married. Their wedding was a critical turning point in both of their lives. They decided to reside in Holy Spirit, Quezon City, hoping for a tranquil and stable atmosphere for their future together. This fresh beginning was full of hope and the promise of a shared future, but it would soon be overshadowed by the complexities and difficulties that would arise in their marriage. Orlando and Heidi appeared to be a peaceful couple to their neighbors. Their home was considered peaceful, and their problems, such as the difficulty in conceiving due to Heidi's illness, were regarded as typical problems that any couple could encounter. Everyone knows that the couple is struggling with the money for Heidi's treatment. Nonetheless, they appear to be a formidable pair who fight side by side. But this picture of peace at home was very different from what Heidi's relatives knew. Heidi's relatives knew about the abuse. Heidi had complained about Orlando's violence, particularly when he was drunk. Despite this, no formal complaints were filed. Orlando never denied the abuse, admitting that their marriage was fraught with unhappiness. On March 11, 2018, the neighborhood of Barangay Holy Spirit was forever changed. What began as a typical day for local children to play in front of Estrera's home turned into a nightmare when they stumbled upon a dismembered body. Initially dismissed as mere imagination, their claims soon led concerned neighbors to a grim reality. The house, which had been adored and appeared tranquil before, had become the scene of a horrific crime. As the community tried to make sense of the brutal reality, they were overcome with shock and fear. Shock and growing anxiety drove worried neighbors to immediately call the local police. As they tried to explain the seriousness of the matter, their calls were full of panic, mixed with urgency. Driven by the severity of the reports, the police hurried to the scene. Police arrived within hours. Concerned community members' quick responses were crucial. Orlando Estrera was quickly arrested. The gravity of the situation became evident as investigators pieced together the horrifying details, marking the end of the community's sense of security and peace. During the course of their investigation into the crime that involved Heidi Estrera, the police officials were met with a situation that was quite disturbing. The dismembered remains of the deceased woman were found dispersed across the front house, and roughly 17 different body parts were retrieved. Among these were a number of limbs, pieces of her torso, and internal organs, all of which had been removed from the rest of her body in a ruthless manner. It is important to note that the head was not included in the collection of remains. According to the details of the confession, the head was severely crushed to the extent that it was completely disfigured, making it impossible to retrieve the whole piece from the crime scene. the severity of the crime was highlighted by the level of violence and brutality that was inflicted against the body of the victim. This particular level of violence and brutality made a significant impact on the investigators, underlining the extreme nature of the offense. Orlando Estrera was arrested. The community, once filled with laughter and camaraderie, was now engulfed in shock and grief. Heidi, a woman known for her kindness and generosity as a head of maintenance in a reputable Catholic school, was found in a state that shattered the peaceful image of her family. Orlando Estrera's confession to the murder revealed a deeply troubled mind. In an interview, he spoke about the crime with a clarity that left investigators and listeners horrified. He described his actions in detail, revealing a blend of delusion and a twisted sense of pleasure. She constantly insisted on having her way. She said all I had to do within the house. She insisted on having everything hers, even if it belonged to someone else. Is that the kind of behavior someone living on this planet should have? She lacks the ability to love other people, Orlando Estrera stated in one of his interviews when asked to describe his wife. Orlando Estrera's statement about his wife exposed a deep-seated resentment and a distorted perception of their relationship. His depiction of her as demanding and self-absorbed unveils his growing sense of detachment and helplessness in their marriage. There was a severe emotional gap between them. This loss of emotional connection is likely to worsen the underlying issues in their marriage, such as infertility and financial difficulties. On the evening of March 11, 2018, Orlando Estrera experienced a complete and utter breakdown of the boundaries that separated his sanity and reality. His nightmare delusion led him to embark on an evil spree that defied any sense of reason or morality. A vision and a belief that his wife had transformed into Satan were the driving forces behind Orlando's actions, which took a gruesome turn. In this segment, the chilling details of that fateful night will be discussed, revealing the rationale behind his acts, as well as the psychological unraveling that led to a tragedy that is beyond comprehension. Orlando claimed that night he dreamt about killing a goat with a yellow light inside of it, which he believed was inhabited by a bad spirit. The goat was afflicted with a long-term illness, which was caused by a devil residing inside of it. This dream triggered his actions. He said, "When I woke up and saw my wife lying face down, she looked like a hairy goat. I realized she was not human, but pretending to be one. How can a human look like that? She is definitely not my wife." Orlando Estrera described a dark urge driving him to murder his wife, Heidi. He felt compelled to remove what he believed was an evil force from her. He first attacked her by stepping forcefully on her nape and stomach, pressing as hard as he could. After incapacitating her, he began the horrifying act of disemboweling her, searching for a black thing he was convinced was inside her uterus. In his distorted view, her face had become non-human, so he removed it as well. Finally, he discarded Heidi's mutilated body outside their house for everyone to see, leaving a chilling and grotesque display of his disturbed actions. In the midst of a gruesome and harrowing crime, a single detail is both surreal and horrifying. In a shocking turn of events that defies belief, Orlando Estrera described an act of unimaginable brutality. In his original language, Orlando said, "Nung nasipsip ko yung kanyang utak, naramdaman ko talaga na walang kasing sarap na parang nakalunokang kulay dilaw ng itlog, parang nalinis ang buong pagkatao mo. Ang sarap talaga sa aking panlasa." Translation: When I sucked her brain, it felt like the most delicious thing. It was like swallowing a yellow egg yolk. It felt like it cleansed my entire being. It was truly delightful to my taste. Orlando's account of his actions is extremely unsettling to all parties involved. The act of consuming his wife's brain is compared to a culinary experience, and he does so with a chilling detachment in his voice. His clear imagery of the yellow egg yolk serves to emphasize the satisfaction he derived from the act. This unsettling comparison sheds light on the nature of his mental state, highlighting his incapacity to comprehend the gravity of his actions and the profound disconnect that exists between his perception and reality. A drug test was carried out in order to make sense of the fact that a husband would do something like that to his wife. Even though he was violent and admitted to prior drug use, the results were negative. This complicated the story by focusing on his mental state rather than substance abuse as the main cause of the horrific crime. The aftermath of this crime left the community frightened. The peaceful image of the Estrera home was shattered, exposing the deepest levels of mental illness and domestic violence that had remained unnoticed for too long. Heidi's family was devastated, struggling to reconcile their memories of her gentle spirit with the brutal reality of her death. Orlando Estrera's behavior during the interview revealed his unstable mental state and chilling lack of remorse for the crime he committed. Orlando was certain that his wife Heidi had transformed into a demon and that her murder was an essential step in cleansing the world of evil. In one of the interviews conducted, Orlando exhibited a behavior that was far from normal. He repeatedly mimicked the act of sucking air, a disturbing gesture he previously described as how he consumed his wife's brain. His mental anguish was on full display in this repeated action, which he carried out with an unsettling and dispassionate intensity, shocking and horrifying everyone in the room. The police moved quickly when his violent and erratic behavior became apparent. He was isolated from the other prisoners so he could control his agitated behavior and prevent harm to himself and others. The heart-wrenching aspect of this case is the betrayal of trust and love that Heidi Estrera experienced. Being murdered by someone who was supposed to be your partner and protector is an unimaginable horror. The brutality with which Orlando committed the crime, including the mutilation of Heidi's body, reflects not only his mental instability, but also a tragic breach of the most fundamental human bonds. The community and Heidi's loved ones are left to mourn the passing of a woman known for her kindness and dedication. The case is a reminder of the severity of untreated mental illness and the devastating effects it can have on both individuals and those around them. The grief and shock over Heidi's death are exacerbated by the fact that she was betrayed and harmed by someone she loved and trusted. This case serves as a poignant reminder of the importance of mental health awareness and the need for supportive interventions to prevent similar tragedies. Thank you for joining us on this tragic story. Join us next time as we continue to uncover the chilling truths behind other cases of murder and violence. Together, let's strive to understand and address the deep-seated issues that lead to such tragedies. Until then, stay safe and be vigilant. Thank you for watching.